Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Inside Guns with your host, me, the Yankee Marshal. Tonight, I want to talk a little about the ATF, because I got a question from a viewer the other day that made me think. They said, what is the stupidest rule that the ATF has on their books? And that's actually a very difficult question, because as you know, the ATF has a lot of stupid rules. In fact, their rules are so stupid that the fact that anybody thinks they should even exist is, crazy. It's beyond me why anybody could think that. I mean, they have rules that say, if this shotgun is 3 inches shorter, it's somehow far more deadly. And you can't have it unless you pay the government for the privilege to own it, even though it should be your right to own a firearm of any type, uninfringed by the government. And a tax is an infringement. If it wasn't, there'd be poll taxes still for people when they go to vote. They make all kinds of stupid rules, like if a trigger is too fast to reset, or if you can fire more than a certain number of rounds. They make it sound like, if someone gets their hands on an automatic weapon, they're just automatically going to go out and just kill thousands of people, even though most people who know anything about guns know that automatic weapons aren't really that great for, taking out people. It's better to be on semi-automatic, which is something we can buy. So the rules are kind of dumb. They don't make any sense. They don't follow logic. But you got to remember, these are the type of people that think, hey, if we put a sign on a school that says no guns allowed, no one will take a gun in there. No one will go in there and shoot any kids. No one will go in there, no gang members will take their guns to school because of that sign. That's pretty stupid. But they think that. They think that, if we put a sign up that says no guns allowed in the mall, criminals won't go in there and rob nobody or no stores because they can't take their guns. They ain't rob nobody if they can't take their guns. That's their mindset. But after thinking just a little bit of what I think is the stupidest rule that the ATF has, I think it is 922R. If you're not familiar with 922R or being in 922R compliance, which you'll often hear people say, 922R is a law that was originally intended to make it to where if a gun is illegal to import, you can't just buy all the parts and then put it together yourself here. Was trying to keep people from getting around import laws on firearms they deem too dangerous to come into our country. But it can be used way beyond that. Like all the laws they make, it goes way beyond its original intent or what would have even made any sense. Because, that almost makes sense on its face. If you accept the idea that they get to limit what guns we have, it would almost make sense on its face. But the way it's written and the way it's put in practice, it's just really stupid. Because here's a perfect example. If you buy a rifle from overseas or a shotgun from overseas and the government says, that holds too many rounds, like say it's a shotgun, we need you to cut the barrel shorter or cut the tube shorter so that you can't put as many rounds in it, then you can import it. And they import it over here and then we put the tube back on it. That'd be illegal. You've committed a crime. You are not 922R compliant because the law says that you can only alter that gun if a certain number of parts in that gun are domestic. Meaning if you buy like a Benelli shotgun and you change the tube from that little crimped tube that comes on it into a regular tube so you can get more rounds in it, and you don't change enough of the other parts to American parts, it's illegal. However, if you change that tube and you also change, lots of other parts. Let's just say, any other parts in there that you can think of, a certain percentage of them. Yeah, because I don't want to name parts, because for one right now I'm blanking. But if you can think of the parts, you name them yourself. If you change enough of them to where a big enough percentage of them are American parts, well, now you can change the tube. Does that make any sense? It doesn't make the gun shoot any faster, any further. Doesn't make the gun any more concealable or less concealable. But if you don't change those parts to American, you've committed a crime. That's so stupid. And a lot of the parts that you can change out to domestic parts to make it legal to change the tube, there's no stamp on any of them. So how would they ever prove that they're not domestic parts? And here's the part that's worse. How would you ever prove they were? if they ever wanted to add this on as a secondary charge because you had a Benelli shotgun that had a straight tube on it, like I have, and they'd be like, well, you didn't change enough of the parts to American parts. And you say, yes, I did. And they go, oh, really? Well, where's the packaging and the receipts for all the extra parts you put in it? And if you're like, well, I don't have that anymore, well, then they're like, well, these aren't stamped, made in the USA, so we're just going to assume they're not. It leaves them that kind of leeway. That's why I hate laws like that. Now, like I said, I have that gun, and I've actually made that change. Now, I, of course, followed all the 922R rules and put all the American parts in there. Because I am someone who always stays compliant with the law. In fact, every gun I own is completely 100% compliant with every stupid rule the ATF has. Because following the rules is what a good American does. So don't worry about me. I'm safe. I did all the parts changes, so I'm not a bad guy here. But I just wanted to use that as an example because it just demonstrates how stupid these laws are. That somehow, for one, a shotgun that holds 10 rounds is way too dangerous. But if it holds 8 rounds, that's okay. You know, that kind of mentality. Or if a shotgun is got a 13-inch barrel, oh, it's just too dangerous. Too dangerous. It's got to be a couple inches longer. You know, it's just that kind of mindset, those kind of stupid laws. And they're created for one thing, to just get people in trouble. If they choose to get you in trouble. It's something they can slap on you without any second thought and just say, hey, look at all these charges you're facing. Like if they want you for something, but they don't know of anything you actually did, they'll come in, they'll be like, I think this gun might not be compliant, and I think that might not be compliant, and I think you may have violated this rule and that rule, and they'll stack up 10 charges against you, and then they'll be like, you might want to plea deal to something else so that you don't get all those other charges. You know, you could possibly be convicted, go jail 20 years, or you can give us the information we want, squeal on someone, or cop to a lesser charge. And that way they get you for something. So, but that's not what my topic was. My topic is what was the stupidest rule of the ATF. Maybe we'll go into enforcement later in another video. But right now, like I said, I think that is the stupidest rule. In fact, I think it's the mostest stupidest rule because it is ridiculous. That whole idea that, oh, it's not safe now, but oh, if that receiver, if that firing pin, if that trigger had been made in America, that gun be safe. But since it was made in, Italy, it's not. Now you're a criminal because you changed that tube without changing the trigger. That kind of stuff is stupid. And the only reason it exists is to make criminals out of people who do nothing wrong. That's the only reason they exist. And there's a lot of laws like that at the ATF. But the one that stands out in my mind as the stupidest, and you may disagree and you can list whatever you think is the stupidest ATF law below. Maybe we'll cover that sometime. But for right now, what I think is the mostest stupidest ATF law is that whole idea of being 922R compliant. Hey everybody, I want to move on now, and I want to answer a question that came at me from a viewer. They were sending me information about a law that Sheila Jackson Lee, actually a bill that Sheila Jackson Lee has put forward to try to become law. And they're like, oh my God, what do we do about this? How do we fight it? Well, my answer to them, and this is going to seem strange, because the bill is about what's called like women's safety or something law. And I forget the numbers for it right now. It's not hard to look it up. It's just Sheila Jackson Lee's latest bunch of crap. It's about red flag laws, gun control. That's what it's really about, not women's safety. And they have brought this out now in the House, voted on it. And people are like, oh my God, how do we fight this? Well, the answer, you might find it surprising, as I said, is we don't. It's not going to pass. There's no way. Even the most liberal sites give it like a 3% chance of passing. This is not getting through the Senate. This is what I like to call a distraction. And people need to quit falling for these distractions. When you see something like this, it's fine to go ask someone, but don't panic. And think it through. Go, does this really have any chance of passing? Let me do a little research. What is this really about? And how often has this been voted on before? How many times has she put this stupid bill forward? How, for lack of a better word, retarded is the person who created the bill? Or special needs. Let's just say Sheila Jackson Lee is special needs. She's the same woman that said, when a gun is involved in a domestic dispute, 400% of the time someone dies, which means every time there's a domestic dispute, 4 times as many people die has been involved in them, period. So she's challenged a little bit, at least math-wise, and a lot of other ways too. But she put this bill forward. This is something that the House does every time they want to distract us from things that are going on, like the Supreme Court cases that are going to be heard, other things that are going on, the budget, etc. Anytime they want to distract gun owners, they whip something out from Sheila Jackson Lee. They take her off her leash and they let her go out there. I want to pass these laws. We're going to do something, and it distracts everybody. It's just like those, where we get riled up by our own side, where the gun channels that actually serve the manufacturers and make big money off people who make these products that rely on our rights being infringed for those products to be viable. It's kind of like, the reset triggers. Well, if we could just buy select fire rifles, then there'd be no need for those. So they're dependent on our rights being violated by the ATF for those to be viable at all. And I'm like, why should we spend time defending one company's right to make a lot of money off of our rights being infringed instead of spending that time and effort and money on just getting our rights back? Well, it's a distraction. Just like how that distracts you from how these other gun channels don't actually do anything positive for the Second Amendment, how gun manufacturers don't seem to do anything positive for the Second Amendment, how Republicans don't seem to do anything positive for the Second Amendment. If they keep you angry and upset and scared, you won't notice that. So that's why they throw distractions out at us. The left does the same thing when they don't want us to pay attention to what's going on in the courts, when they don't want us to pay attention to what's going on in the Senate or whatever. The House will throw out one of these stupid bills by someone like Sheila Jackson Lee that have no chance of passing as a distraction. So let's stop focusing on the distractions. Let's stop worrying about whether this one small company of 7 people gets a right to keep making a fortune off of our infringed rights. Let's not worry about that. Let's worry about doing away with the infringement. Let's not worry about what Sheila Jackson Lee is doing right now when her bill has 0 chance of passing. Let's pay attention to what they're actually doing, what's going on in the courts, what other things are they trying to slide through that aren't as stupid and sensational, that don't grab the headlines. Whenever I see something like that from Sheila Jackson Lee, I start looking through the docket, like what are they trying to distract us from? Or what's going on in the courts, what are they trying to distract us from? So that's what these are. They're distractions. Quit falling for them. It's okay to discuss them, but don't panic. And don't get all in a tither, because like I said, that's what both sides that are distracting you want. They want you to be too confused, too angry, too scared to actually reason things out, because they don't want to see you to see what they're actually trying to do, what's actually going on. And one side doesn't want you to see that they're actually trying to profit off of infringements instead of doing away with infringements. And one side's trying to infringe you more while you're not looking. So they're distractions. That's all they are. Keep that in mind, and let's start treating them with the attention they need, which is just a little bit, not much, and then let's ignore them and pay attention to more important things. All right, everybody, I'm going to end the show today with our viewer EDC of the day. And today we have one of our regulars, Squirrel and Wesson, although I haven't seen him in the live chats in a while. Well, I saw him the other day, but haven't seen him a whole lot. He used to be in like every live chat. And he is carrying his Smith & Wesson 629 3-inch 44 Magnum. Really nice gun. And, continuing that whole notion that, my viewers have the tiniest wieners in the game, he's carrying that 44 Magnum. But it is a nice gun. I carry a 44 Magnum sometimes, so I like to try to pretend that is one stereotype that is not true. No matter what anyone tells you, they're supposed to be sworn to secrecy. But carrying his 629, really nice gun. Now, I could have done without seeing his underwear here. Skinny bitch showing me his. Makes me kind of wonder, were they always gray or are they just gray now? But like his setup. Another thing, though, I will say about this picture, this is not a hostage photo. You could have taken this anywhere. You didn't have to stand in front of your light art picture from like 1971, which I have no idea why you have that in your house or why anyone would have that in their house. Unless you're like, hey, I collect junk, I guess. Ridiculous, stupid, ugly crap. which I guess some people do. But, and your walls aren't covered with stuff, so I'm assuming you're not a hoarder, so there must be something specific about that picture you wanted, and you're willing to take a picture in front of it. Like I said, you didn't have to do that, not a hostage photo. But other than that, really nice gun, regular viewer, so I wanted to show today Squirrel and Wesson here with his Smith & Wesson 629 3-inch. All right, everybody, I want to announce real quick before we go here that we did do the drawing for the third silver bullet last night, and the winner was Rick Jones. I'm assuming not the same Rick Jones from Captain America and the Incredible Hulk. I'm assuming a different Rick Jones, considering the first one is, I don't think, real. But they are the winner of the third silver bullet. The drawing for the next one will be tomorrow. So if you haven't donated yet over at tymppistolproject.com, go over there now, donate $5 or more to benefit Athena's Angels Animal Rescue. For every $5 you donate, between 5 p.m. yesterday and 5 p.m. tomorrow, we'll get you registered for the drawing tomorrow during the live chat at 6 p.m. Pacific time. So go on over there, donate to a worthy cause, get a shot at winning you one of them silver bullets, because like I said, Halloween's coming right up. Werewolves are going to be all over the fucking place, and you need to be prepared. So get yourself a chance to win a free, genuine silver bullet. These are actually live rounds, not fake rounds. They're real, people. So get yourself a chance to win one before it's too late. And with that being said, I want to sign off today by saying, as far as the state of the world today is concerned, it is what it is. It could be a lot worse. Like I say, you could be attacked by a werewolf and not have a silver bullet. But it could be better too. And if we as a community start ignoring the fear mongers, the profiteers, the fake activists, the people who just want to manipulate you and get you to spend your money where they want you to spend it instead of paying attention to real issues, if we ignore those people and start paying attention to the real issues, what things will be for people who value the Second Amendment and freedom in general in the very near future is better.